Okay guys, I have this video here that is called the Path of Exile 2 Identity Crisis. And of course I want to watch this video because I have a video from a long time ago that is, the title is really similar to this one. I am sure I used the exact words Identity Crisis. So I want to see what my brother Nico has to say in here. But with the thumbnail says the vision is dead. Yes, it screams, click on me, click on this video as a thumbnail. It works, but I don't agree that the vision is dead. Let's see what he has to say in here. Let's go.
The other thing as well you really wanted to make sure is that it feels like you can have a lot of combos. So here I've like frozen these enemies, and then if I use my other shotgun I can shatter them, and it does like an AoE around the monsters. So to show you that again, you know, I can start by freezing these monsters and then shatter them apart. Right. So in PoE1 a lot of the time, you know, you just spam one skill again and again, and we really wanted to make sure that you actually have more variety in PoE2.
I will tell you guys something that a lot of people have not understood about Path of Exile 2. And Jonathan has tried to say it, but he has not said it in the best of ways. And some people are misinterpreting it. And I was one of those people that used to misinterpret it when I did the Identity Crisis video myself. But with time, playing more the game and listening to what Jonathan says in interviews, I understand now what he's trying to say. And guys, he's focusing 100% in the campaign. When he wants us to use several abilities, he's talking about the campaign. That showcase he was doing there was during the campaign. When he talks about combo and all this crap, he's talking about the campaign. He has said in interviews that he knows that people are going to spam one ability in the end game. And he's fine with people getting the power to do that in the end game. But he wants people to play that slower combo-oriented combat during the campaign. I am not saying it is fine like that, because I know that for some people, that is also worrying. I know. I am just explaining that some people think that the whole game is combo-oriented in the mind of Jonathan. And he has explicitly said that it is not like that, but he has not fully explained it like I am explaining it in here. I have just pieced together things that he has said before in one concise argument. The actual game. Okay. Please tell me this fucking music is not copyrighted, dude. Okay, the actual game is someone destroying everything. Exactly. This is what I was telling you. This is endgame. Jonathan was playing in the campaign slow. This is endgame when you have a bunch of bullshit. Look, monster level 70, right? It is okay that you progress and you get better, right? You start the game being a little idiot, right? That you are rolling around, kiting white mobs, and you have to combo abilities that take too long to set up. But in the endgame, you are cracked up and you look at the dude and you explode them, right? In concept. I know that in practice it doesn't work like that. And people also don't want to be running around from fucking white mobs at the start of the campaign either. So yes, there are tuning knobs in there. But I think, I might be wrong, that what I am explaining is the actual vision. I might be completely wrong, but I think that people are misrepresenting the vision. The actual vision is you start slow, grindy, combo-oriented, weak, and you get stronger, and in the end game, you are faster and stronger, and you can do one ability to kill everything and maybe combo for bosses. I think that is the actual vision. And that you feel the power curve, and you are going up and up and up, and you are doing all this crazy shit. Does it need improvements? Obviously it does. It is fucked up right now, and it feels like an identity crisis. But I think that is the vision. What are things impeding this vision right now? For example, that the mobs are playing PoE1 and we are playing PoE2. That is one thing that is fucking up the vision. Have you played fucking Simulacrum? Simulacrum is insane. You can't do combos in Simulacrum. You try to do a combo in Simulacrum and the mobs destroy you down and eat your ass. No, you can do combos in Simulacrum. That is bullshit. Why the fuck did you put Simulacrum in PoE2? Simulacrum is not for PoE2. That shit is for PoE1. But that is a different entire story. That is not what we are here to discuss. But I do think they are trying to slow the game down a little bit and now I am talking in the end game, without handicapping people to not do anything. What I mean by that is that if you see someone playing PoE1 in the end game, you can't say what the fuck is going on in the screen unless you are a PoE1 player. But if you are not a PoE1 player, you don't know what is happening. Crazy shit exploding. You don't know shit. You could say the same about PoE2, by the way. Now it gets crazy in the end game too. But it is definitely slower, but it gets faster. I think that they are aiming for that end game in Path of Exile 2, where it is fast, but not as fast as the shit that you have in PoE1. But they also don't want what people think they want, which is being weak and powerless and slow in the end game. They do want you to be faster in the end game, just not as fast as PoE1. I hope that my rambling about stupid shit makes sense. It is just a curve. You start out weak, you get faster and stronger in the end game. It seems like an identity crisis because of the disconnection between these two things, and there is not a smooth curve. But if they get it right, it will feel awesome. Better than any other ARPG. So I do encourage them to keep trying and get it right.
Times by now, the vision that GGG and Jonathan want the game to be this like slow-paced, methodical, intentional combat system. Complete.
That is why all that I said in the intro was important. Because that is for the campaign. And if you have watched every Jonathan interview, as I have done, you would understand this.
Redesign of ARPG combat in general. But is that really true anymore? Even most recently in their Abyss League trailer thing, they talked about this.
One of the major issues is the limitation of only having one support gem of each type on your character. We didn't want builds to just become using the same 5 most powerful supports in every skill. The problem with this design though is that it's actually working against using multiple skills in your build. If you can only use each support gem on one skill, it means that you're encouraged to go all in on that one ability.
That statement is completely true, by the way.
And we want to encourage you to combo your abilities.
This is another thing that we can discuss. Getting to the core of the problem even deeper. Why are they wanting to go combo oriented? Because you can do a power curve as we discussed earlier. You can definitely do it without encouraging combo gameplay. Right? We can go into that discussion. That is different. That is another discussion. Why do they want combo oriented gameplay? That is another discussion.
Needed to change.
How combos are so important and how they want to make that happen, and the support gems kind of held them back from having a more combo-based gameplay system. But the more you play the game, and especially the further you get into the acts,
is literally explaining what I explained. I think that is intended, brother. I think that is intended. I also made a video a long time ago saying exactly this. It is intended that you get faster and stronger in the endgame, and you can go one skill in the endgame. The problem, again, and they have nerfed the monsters, but this continues happening, is that, and there is still an identity crisis in this aspect, I believe so, is the monsters. The bosses, no, the bosses are cool, the bosses are awesome. But I think that the game has been more designed around the bosses. The problem are the monsters. The monsters are playing a different game than you are, and there is an identity crisis there. But with the combat, I think it is intended that you start, we already discussed this at length.
It becomes very, very clear that there's, well, not much methodical gameplay to be found, and if you're playing a combo-based build with a lot of buttons, you're most oftenly more punished than rewarded.
In the end game. In the campaign, you can also be punished, let's be honest. So that is why I tell you, there is tweaking in there. But it is easier to go combo. In the campaign, you go more combo because there are less monsters and they are less fast. There are still some fast monsters, I know. But he wants you to try different abilities in the campaign, man. And let's be honest, we are doing it. He's designing the game that way. We are probably doing it. Unless you are doing some crazy shit that hits too fucking hard, you are probably using at least 2 or 3 abilities to do it in the campaign. So he's accomplishing his goal, and then you are going into the endgame and you are doing just lightning arrow, and he's accomplishing his role and his goal. And for the bosses, you are even using the lightning rod. So you are using at least 2 skills. So they are doing it. It needs balance, it needs tweaking, but they are doing it. I also used to think that there was a disconnection, but if they smooth out the curve, there is no disconnection in there. But with the monsters there are, GGG, fix the monsters, please.
This league I've gotten 2 different characters to maps. My second one, after reworking him 3 times, also got to kill tier 3 Zesht and Easy Arbiter, and well, outside of getting frustrated that basically nothing I wanted to, well, build for my character worked.
People, bro, I should bury this company. I could do like a 6-hour-long video of how thing makes sense in this game, bro. I'm gonna blackmail them. Take him out. All right, I'm leaving. I'll see you guys later.
I was actually...
This is always going to happen. There are people that are not going to like the game, and that is fine, dude. Like, there is no one game in the world that everyone likes. Even WoW, in its peak of popularity in Wrath of the Lich King in 2008, there were lots of people that didn't like it. Like, it is impossible to please anyone. Everyone.
Having fun, kind of. But not because the gameplay was so slow and methodical and intentional, but rather because it went back to a more PoE 1-esque gameplay system. I never...
Now, this is important. This is a point that I think it is important to analyze. You made a great point in there, my brother Nico, dude. And it is... What do you enjoy more in the game? The campaign when you are slow and weak, or the endgame when you are powerful and being fast and using one skill? Because the answer to this question will get to the core of the issue. And I think a lot of people are hating being slow and weak in the campaign. I like it. But there are people that completely hate it, and they don't ever get to experience the fast and easy and strong endgame because they just don't tolerate what is happening in the campaign and they quit. And then they don't get to experience power in the end game. So this is an important point. This one is important. You know, because if people are enjoying more the end game because it is faster and easier, then there is something to say in there. Because at the end of the game, you are making a game, and what you want is people to be happy and have fun, right? So that is the thing. As my brother 60 is saying here in the chat, I prefer both. I also prefer both because I am weak and I get strong. But there are people that don't like that shit. So the developer has to identify that and try to make the most fun game for the most amount of people, right?
Really enjoy just the one button clicking. I'm an MMO player most of the time, so in MMOs there's no such a thing. You have a lot of buttons, a lot of cooldowns, and you have to manage different rotations, different combos, different gear setups to make that rotation happen. So I was really excited when they first announced PoE 2 because I felt like they tried to reimagine ARPG combat to be closer to what MMOs feel like, where you actually have to have a mix of different abilities.
They are indeed trying to do that. They are indeed trying to do that, but again, in the campaign, I think they are trying to, brother, they are geniuses, and I think that PoE 2 is a testament to that. They are trying to come up with something new. They are trying to put a little bit of a MMO in there with combo-oriented, not rotation, but spells, let's say it that way. They are also putting a little bit of Souls-like. It is not a Souls-like game. Some people say that they are trying to build a Souls-like. It is not a Souls-like. But it has Souls-like elements at the start of the game. But they also want to preserve the PoE 1 endgame where crazy shit happens. They are trying to hit all these targets at the same time. And let's be honest, guys, it is not easy. If you are lazy, if you are just a clown developer that just want to take the easy box, you do what people have been asking for. And it's making PoE 1 with better graphics. That is the easy way out. That is easy as fuck to do. PoE 1 with better graphics and we are done. But no, these guys are trying to make something new, something crazy, something that has never been done before. And I commend them for that. If they fail and they revert back to PoE 1, okay, you failed, but you tried. You are trying to come up with something cool. But if you revert back because you failed, hey, that is fine, my man. That is fine.
Abilities, combo them together, have cooldowns and stack them on top of each other to have the biggest outcome. But none of that seems to still exist. Oh my god, what the fuck? Hello? This is bugged.
This is what I was telling you earlier. Tell me, how the fuck are you going to do a combo in there, Jonathan? You are not going to do a combo in there. Because if you try to set up a combo in here, they are going to mow you down. You have to do one skill back, one skill back, one skill back, rolling back, right? One skill roll back, one skill roll back, one skill roll back. Because if you don't do that, you are fucked in the ass. So that is why I think that at this point in the game, you are not intended to do 6 seconds combos because you are going to get destroyed. And if I am wrong, and they are intending for you to still be doing combos at this point, then they need to fix these fucking mobs. Because this is insane, right? Like, I understand the other perspective too. I am just interpreting it this way. But if I am wrong, and they are wanting you to do combos in here, look at this. You can do combos in here. This is impossible.
Right? Okay.
That is what I'm trying to say, right?
What the fuck is this?
Exactly. You can do combos in there.
This was
if you try to do a combo in there, you are going to get fucked 100% in the ass.
Map I did this league, and I thought it was bugged, actually, because there's no way my entire screen is full of mobs, and I just get swarmed instantly by that many mobs in a tier 2 map. But that's just normal now, especially with Abyss in the game, and if you pair that with a Delirium, and maybe even a Corrupted map, your entire screen is full of mobs at all times. So, just by judging from that, the more mobs are on your screen, the faster they move, the less of a combo gameplay is actually beneficial to your character, right?
I agree completely with this. That was what I was trying to say with exactly. This one, brother, is on point. This is completely true. If there are a lot of mobs, if they move too fucking fast, if they are strong as fuck, you can do combos. You can't. You have to try to kill them as fast as possible because it is the only way you are going to survive.
Because at the end of the day, if you can't kill the mobs fast enough and you have to set up 3 or 4 different abilities before you do damage, you're most often dead.
But again, I think that their intention is that at this point you are able to not have to do it, but I might be wrong, and if they are still intending that you do combos at this point, then they are wrong. But again, it is a matter of interpreting what they are saying, and I do think I am right, but I don't know.
If you're not tanky enough. 99% of the really good builds of this league are once again 1 or 2 button builds. I mean, the most obvious example is Lightning Arrow Deadeye, but there's many other examples of that as well.
And it has been every league. The top 3 builds in every single league have been builds that kill everything with 1 skill. This is again in the endgame, and I do think it is intended like that. But for example, what is one build that has won races in the campaign? The warrior build that uses several abilities. It uses Chill Charge. It uses Lip Slam with Bone Shatter. Chill Charge, Lip Slam with Bone Shatter. It uses, I think it uses the Shockwave Totem, and it uses Perfect Strike for the bosses. You have a lot of abilities in there. And that was the warrior build that won a bunch of races in the campaign using several abilities. But then in the end game, that shit sucks, and the best builds are builds that can scale 1 ability until the fucking sun, and they destroy everything with 1 ability. So you can see, and that then I can see you the disconnection. There are builds that are stupid in the fucking early gaming campaign and they suck, but then they scale crazy in the end game. And there are builds like the Warrior one that is good in the campaign, but then in the end game it sucks. They have to balance out that core for everyone, right? I know that there are classes that are intended to be weaker and they're stronger, but the core right now, it is out of whack. It is not like there is a slight advantage of going this or this in the end game and on early game. No, it is everywhere, you know. It is all over the place.
Well, being really fast, having no movement penalty through the row amount, and then just one-shotting the entire screen with a single button is just way, way, way better for this game, where the entire screen is full of mobs, than having multiple buttons to kill a white mob, right? Like I
agree, but I think he's missing what I said. And I don't want to repeat it anymore because I have told it a lot of times. But it is because that answers a lot of the questions that he's proposing in here. The disconnection between he's applying the early game logic to the end game and the end game logic to the early game. And GGG is wanting to have a different experience in both of these. And they want the progression to feel smoother. The problem is that right now it's not that smooth.
The idea that you need to set up different skills just to kill one mob in the map, which is kind of what they alluded to initially, just doesn't exist. Just to give you some stats here, 33% of all characters in Rise of the Abyssal softcore are playing Lightning Arrow, Lightning Rod.
And this sheds a fundamental light not only on power, players always gravitate to power, but also on feeling. Players like the feeling of just clicking one ability and killing everything. A lot of us would think, oh, that is brain dead gameplay, but that is what people want and like. So GGG will respond to this 100%.
That's a third of all characters in a, well, game where everything is about making builds and having fun creating them, right? This is, I mean, it's even worse for the Deadeye Ascendancy in general, which is 37%, which was also very obvious from the beginning. Even in the patch notes, everyone already knew how strong this was gonna be. Well, besides GGG, for some reason. Acolyte of Chayula, which they, well, in length talked about reworking, still no one is playing. The newly added Smith of Kitava, which was added last update, no one plays anymore because it's just clunky and everything takes way too long. The animations are terrible.
The Smith of Kitava has one bullshit where you have to click the shit, bah, 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 and then it works for 2 or 3 attacks. You are not doing that shit every 2 or 3 attacks. That should be just one click, you get it, and you continue, right? What the fuck?
Like, there's a very obvious gravitation in the community to what builds are actually good and enjoyable to play.
Exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. People are going for the feeling. The power matters. But you can see that, okay, 37%, but there is also 12%, 10%, 8%. These are still significant, right? And these are also playing builds that feel smoother to play than if you were to play a fucking Chronomancer, right? So that is why they gravitate towards those.
And it's not the combo-based builds, although combos can sometimes still be useful in more endgame boss fights, but even the most recently added boss fight from the Abyss is such a mess from a ground degen standpoint, where you basically just have to roll around, dance around.
The ground degen in this boss fight is annoying as fuck. I always commend them for bosses, and this boss is kinda cool, but that ground degen bullshit sucks dick. And not because, oh brother, they are putting shit in the ground. You can just go out, right? Move out, okay. The problem is that sometimes you can't see the shit in the floor, so you don't know where the fuck to stand. Because there is so much shit happening on the screen that you don't have anywhere to fucking stand. And then it becomes a problem. I hated the degen bullshit in the ground in this fight.
Like, really strong ground degens the entire time, so you barely even have time to press multiple buttons and do damage. But even there, it seems like their design of the game, of how the endgame is supposed to be played, the difficulty of the maps, the difficulty of the bosses, and the amount of monsters in the game just don't seem to connect with their idea of having combo-based gameplay. It just doesn't make sense. And even if we go back to like Act 1, where we're fighting, just a few mobs at a time, it's also very clear that this combo-based, slow-paced gameplay, which is much more apparent in the early acts, still doesn't feel good, right? Does it feel good to have a 5-hour animation, get stunned in the...
And this is touching it in the important part that I talked about earlier, right? Like, yes, okay, I said that it is intended that you feel like this in the early game, but I also said, like, this thing, I proposed it. There is another question. I said this is a different topic. Does this feel good? Do people like this? And that is another conversation. He's touching on that in here. Let's say. He's saying that it doesn't feel good even in the early game. I personally think it feels good. But it depends on the combo and the class that you are doing. There are some combos that are too long and too underwhelming. The payoff is not good enough. And that is entirely true also.
Middle of it and then just rolling around until you have enough health again. I think what happened is they tried the slow and methodical gameplay route and they've realized it's just not fun what they're creating. Because it isn't. Like, even in the early acts, I'm not having fun with the slow and methodical combat. As someone who wanted that kind of thing out of the game, I don't even enjoy it. At least not the version that they're trying to make. So instead of sitting here and complaining, oh my god, I wish the game was more slow and methodical and ruthless like in PoE 1, right? I actually find myself thinking maybe the direction they're going with the endgame combat where you're just basically still pressing 1 or 2 buttons, just like in PoE 1, is just more fun. Because their version of the slow and methodical gameplay is just terrible. I'm sorry to say, but GGG, you had...
I don't think it's terrible. I think it can be better, but it's not terrible. I have played worse combats, to be honest. And I am not trying to throw shade at any game in here. Because I like Last Epoch. But Path of Exile 2 combats at any stage of the game feels miles better than Last Epoch. The slow at the start and the fast at the end. All combat in Path of Exile 2, doesn't matter what class, skill, or whatever, it feels smoother than Last Epoch. And maybe it is not because of design, maybe it is because of jankiness in the game engine or whatever, but it just feels better. To me, it feels better. And Last Epoch is an awesome game. I love it. I think that the skill system in the trees, whatever, for Last Epoch is awesome. I am just talking specifically about the combat. I don't think it is the worst combat, the PoE 2. No way in hell.
Worse than that. The melee is giga clunky. There's so much desync happening. My character teleporting around because there's body blocking of the mobs happening. And it just feels so janky, even when it is slow and methodical. And this also leads me to the uniques and the gems, because I think the uniques and the gems have been so fucking terrible because they were originally created for the slow and methodical gameplay. What I mean is, basically 99...
This is true, by the way. I agree with this point. A lot of abilities, a lot of skills that could somewhat be useful during the early game because they are intended for playing combo-oriented are non-existent in the end game because they don't work in the end game. I do agree with this point. There are several abilities that are this way. Okay.
9% of the uniques you find are completely worthless shit. Way worse than in any other ARPG. Although they stated before that they wanted to make the uniques more unique so they can actually be useful in endgame still.
Each unique is something that you can build your character around. We try to make sure that most unique items have a potential use at endgame, even if you find them early on. And as you can see, every single unique item comes with custom art to match.
They completely...
He put like clown music behind, or is that the actual music behind it? That is an example of that not being true. 99% of uniques suck dick. I know that people will tell me, oh, but 99% of uniques also suck dick in PoE 1. Well, it sucks dick in PoE 1 too also, then. In PoE 1 too. Because having 99% of uniques sucking dick sucks. I know that not every unique can be meaningful, but 99.9% of them sucking. Come on, man. Come on. Like, and that is completely not true. That there are some that are useful in the endgame, even if you find in early game. Yes, there are some, but not a lot of them, right? Not a lot of them. Maybe, I don't know, the Pillar of the Cage God or something like that. But aside from that, not a lot of useful. I don't know. And the other way around too. Like, uniques are not the best, but that is not unique to Path of Exile 2. Like, uniques suck in a lot of games, including Diablo 4, but I know we are not talking about Diablo 4.
Completely failed on that as well. I think that's also one of the reasons why. Because originally they thought, oh, the game's going to be much more slower pace. People were going to craft a lot less. They introduced a lot of crafting this league, so there's a lot more rare items that are really strong.
This is one thing that I think is happening. And it is going to continue happening. And for me, it is a little bit of a pain in the ass. Not entirely, but a little bit. And I want you guys to be prepared for this. because I am already seeing the future in this one. PoE 2 is going to become more and more and more like PoE 1 with each league. Maybe it will never be exactly PoE 1, but the gap is going to get closer and closer and closer. And we are already seeing that progression. Let's see what happens in the future, but that is my prediction for now.
And then the unique items are completely power crept. Like, you can't really justify using a unique with 10 energy shield and 5 armor over like a rare piece that costs 2 exalts and is 50 times better. And the same goes for the skill gems. Most of these buttons are completely unusable. I tried to make a build with Whirling Assault and Stagger.
This is true. You see this list and you say, oh, I have a lot of options. Now you have 3 options in this whole fucking list. That is true. This is true.
Palm. And I'm gonna be honest, no matter what I tried, it just wasn't good. Like, Whirling Assault especially is probably the worst ability in the entire game.
And yes, I forgot about that, Ace. And I was commenting here because Jonathan said, and they are pretty to look at too. And I was going to say, and what the fuck do I care about that if I don't have a correct transmog system? We have to have the wardrobe tab, dude. And yes, thank you for bringing it up, Ace.
You can't make use of this in any capacity, basically. It has no range. It feels like it doesn't even scale with attack speed very well, besides just hitting more often, but the animation is still the same length. Like, it just feels janky and weird. And for every class and every weapon, there's a very select few abilities that basically every single one is using on that specific weapon. And again, I think this is because the shift from the slow methodical gameplay to the high-paced PoE 1 style gameplay was too fast, and most of these abilities are still anciently designed with the slow pace in mind, but that doesn't exist anymore. So they're basically unusable. I thought about this a lot, what they should do, and if they should go back to the more, slow and methodical gameplay. But the more I played, the more it was clear that GGG is just not capable of making good slow-paced combat, and they should stick to their roots.
I don't think it is not that they are not capable of making good slow-paced combat. I think that because again, I will go circle back to the earlier point. It is not necessarily that the slow-paced combat that they are designing is bad. It is that it doesn't work in the world they are building. The mobs are playing a different game, so then you feel that your slow combat is bad. But if the world you were building responded to your same combat, it would feel better. But that is not Path of Exile. Path of Exile is a lot of mobs that are mowing you down. Then that combat is not the combat for that game. That is the thing, that you have 2 pieces and this piece doesn't go with this piece. And that is where the disconnection happens. That is where the identity crisis happens. More than the slow combat being bad per se intrinsically. It is just that it doesn't go with the world. You are trying to fight a world that you don't have the tools to fight with a little bit. You do have them, but let's say it this way, right? And that is why when you get to the other side and you do the fast pace one skill, it feels better because that is the piece that goes with the world, you know? You have to match the piece, the combat with the monster.
And actually go with the PoE 1 gameplay again is my idea. And that's, by the way, coming from someone who doesn't want that, or didn't want that initially. I didn't want this game to be the same as PoE 1 again, where you just spam one button. But it's very clear that GGG can't make any other combat feel good. So I'm very disappointed in GGG and PoE 2. Not so...
I am not disappointed. I am not disappointed. Even if they fail in this task of trying to make this combat work and they don't accomplish it, and they revert back to, well, let's just go with what we know and let's just do PoE 1 combat in PoE 2. Even then, I won't be disappointed. The game is awesome, man. I am not disappointed at all. Let them keep cooking, let them keep trying. They are trying to do something unique no one has ever done before. When no one has ever done something and you are the first one to do it, you don't have a guide on how to do it. You have to try different stuff and see what works. If they find out that none of this works, they will probably just revert back to what they know. Let them try. I think they are going for something cool in here, and if they hit it, it will be awesome. I am not disappointed. I am not disappointed. Can it be better? Of course. Do I want it to be better? 100%. Do I have a lot of things that I can complain about? 3000%. But I am not disappointed at all. In fact, all the contrary. I think this is awesome. Dude, I come from playing fucking WoW and Diablo and dealing with Blizzard. Like, my bar was really fucking low. In comparison to that, now that I am playing Path of Exile and I am dealing with GGG, this is fucking heaven. These guys are releasing insane patches for both PoE 1 and PoE 2 every 2 months. And then they patch it up and they do the interviews and they answer the community and the hot fixes and then another league. And there you go. And ping, boom, bang. To me, this is awesome. To me, this is awesome. Maybe I am... you could say I am a shield and I am sucking GG's dick or whatever. I don't know. This is just my perspective coming from WoW and before.
Much that they shifted their combat philosophy towards something faster again. But I'm more disappointed that they just couldn't figure out how to make the other combat system work.
Okay, this one, and I just alluded to that. I said, even if they don't make it work, I won't be disappointed. But he's addressing that. He's disappointed that they couldn't make it work. Or that they are failing it in making it work. Okay, I can see that. He's not saying he's disappointed about them trying it. But he's disappointed about them not making it, not accomplishing it. Okay, I can get in there. I can back that one out. I am not disappointed and I won't be disappointed if they fail because they try. But I understand this point. I understand this point 100% more than the other point that most people have, which is don't even try it. Just go with PoE 1 combat. Don't even try to create a new combat. This is bullshit. Just go PoE 1. I don't agree with that take. Let them try to do something new, right? So he's disappointed because they tried and failed. Okay, okay.
Also, Act 4 introduced a lot of double boss fights, which is also not very beneficial to a combo-based gameplay because there's too many things going on at the same time and too many things to dodge at the same time. So I feel like the entire design philosophy has shifted. Maybe Jonathan still thinks that the combo gameplay will happen at some point, but it won't. And that's
I think it comes down from what I said earlier, the disconnect between the campaign and the endgame.
just the reality. And that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
I think this was a good video, so I will subscribe to this dude. Nico Too Low, the Path of Exile 2 Identity Crisis. Thank you so much for this video, dude. I think this is a good video. Yes, I can disagree in a lot of points, but I do think he brings up a lot of good points that open up discussions that we need to have about the game and that GGG needs to listen about how the community feels about the most important thing in the game, which is the combat. An action ARPG with a bad combat sucks dick. You can't have it because the whole fucking game revolves around it, right? So this is an important conversation to have. And it is important that GGG hears the perspective and what is the community feeling about this. So I do like this video a lot. Thank you so much, Nico, brother. And we talk about a lot of cool shit during this video, dude. So yes, that is cool, dude. What do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I a clown? Am I a genius? Let me know everything in the comments below. I love reading comments even when they don't agree with me. Also remember to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, all that cool stuff. Guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless ya. And remember, don't be afraid ever because this is just a ride.